What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. It's fire pit time again. So in this video, we're going to be talking about the Presidential Committee of Religious Freedom, all right, and the presentation that they did yesterday after a year of investigation, 13 months, I think is what it was actually stated, of investigating into religious freedom and all of the testimonies and stuff that they've had over religious concerns and people causing and attacking on religious bounds or whatever. This presentation was quite something, in my opinion, and we're going to talk about it here. So thank you very much for joining me. If you'd like to check out the description down below for all links and stuff to this channel, all my other channels, and subscribe if you would like to, like, share, comment, all that good stuff. It's free for you, helps out the channels tremendously. There's also the links there for the merch. I have merch for every channel if you would like to check that out, and of course Patreon as well if you want to get discount on the merch or just want to support the channels, however you would like to. There's private communities there, other stuff like that. So thank you very much for joining. Any support you give is very much appreciated, and if you're returning, freaking amazing. So welcome back. All right, so yesterday, okay, this was a committee. I guess as a committee, was put together by Trump, I think like last May in 2025. And so they've had like 13 months where they have been investigating through testimonials and all this kind of stuff about people, their experiences with persecution, okay? Religious persecution on themselves. And with this testimony, and they've heard and they've put together and they've presented this evidence, this findings, if you will, of religious persecution and religious concerns that need to be addressed by the administration, and making sure that we have religious freedom in the country. AKA make sure that Jews and Christians are not being mistreated in any kind of way. That's basically what this was about. Because that was the only thing that was really like hard pressed in any talks about this in this conversation. And so, and of course, the blessing, they were kissing ass and blessing Trump so much on this, acting like he was the most religious, most God Christian protectionist or religious protectionist president ever in history. That's laughable. But anyways, one thing that they tied it to right off the bat was communism. Yeah, communism. The persecution of faith, religious concerns because of communism. Because apparently communism is going to remove faith. It is unbelievable. Communism, for one, is an economic system, okay? I don't know how, and they have branded communism anything that is anti-capitalist, anything that is, and capitalism has been like completely succumbed with all of American existence. It's not just an economical system. It's like at our core, at our soul, and it's a religion at this point. And so whenever you talk about an opposition to that, then that brands communism as just anti anything that we have deemed like inherently moral and right through capitalism. It is stupid. It's a continuation of just the stupidity of these people, the ignorance, the just foolishness, the the I anyways, okay, so yeah, they drive that lane. Okay, funny enough, capital. What I would argue that capitalism has caused more of a like greed when it comes to religion. Capitalism tries to profitize religion. I would argue that is a bigger problem for religion than communism. Communism would actually do the opposite of that. It would prevent the privatization and like profiteering of religion. So I would argue that you would probably have a better outcome. You would be on a more moral standing with communism when it comes to like religion than capitalism. But whatever. Okay, we that's not what we need to argue here. And the connection from communism there then went to, well, what do they consider communism? It's anything that opposes them. It's anything on the left. It's anything that is an opposition to Trump and MAGA and the whole new Republican like path that they are sculpting and creating here. Because then they went into, it's the left. It's these and the communism and left then branched into anti-Semitism. And they're connecting all this together, all the same. This is a problem, okay? Because you have the left and these communists. They're the left, and then they also, have a problem with Israel. So that's anti-Semitism, and so this is all persecution of Jews and even Christians alike. It is. It's absolutely ridiculous. Again, I stated in the previous video, anti-Semitism is not just if you oppose, okay, anybody on the left, even anybody on the right, okay, even half of MAGA at this point, the America First people have disdain for Israel at this point. So now you're not only like branching or dividing, the left and communists, but you're also dividing half of your fucking base when you're trying to argue the anti-Semitism, because you're actually arguing that they're all anti-Semitic as well, just because they oppose Israel, the country, Israel, the Zionist ideology that is just taken over Israel. And the IDF and the atrocities, the war crimes, the genocide, the humanitarian just like atrocities that they have committed. You want to stamp that as anti-Semitic, so therefore Jews are being mistreated because of that opinion. Because we have a negative thought, because there's negative opinion of fucking genocide, there's a negative opinion of, I don't know, killing children, sexually raping women and children, and even men in the prisons. Like that is persecution of religious freedom. Get out of here. Get out of here, bro. Get out of here. Whatever. And then they talked about all these supposed testimonies of people arguing that they were persecuted in this way and persecuted in that way, although they never actually went into detail about any of it. But there again lies the definition. What is perceived as persecution? Is it like literal persecution, like you're literally trying to provoke and engage in like aggressive, violent nature towards a religious individual, a Christian or a Jew or whatever? Or is it just that because I don't like you trying to take over things and I'm telling you that I don't agree with it, that is persecution? Because the next thing they brought up is that the biggest thing that the left and all these communists and all these anti-Semitic people and all these people is the uh, um, uh, separation of church and state, and we need to henceforth, condemn that as anything to do with trying to argue against religion, like because it's not constitutional. Separation of church and state was not in the Constitution. It was in a letter, and that had nothing to do with the Constitution. Fact check? Yes, it did. Because in that letter, that was exactly how Jefferson was explaining. That's how he was explaining. That's the metaphor he was using for the First Amendment. He was using a metaphor to explain what the First Amendment protected. And that's the reason why he was saying that. He actually said it was a wall. The representation was, it was to be a wall. Okay, all you MAGA, all you wall builders, it was to be a wall for the separation of church and state. Meaning the federal government, state governments, any kind of governmental entity could not promote or prevent or associate in any kind of way trying to identify or represent or have respective like connection to any religion specifically. There was to be, it's the Establishment Clause. And that's how Jefferson argued as an example. Okay, that's the wording he used. It's like a wall to separate church and state. That's what the First Amendment was. So while yes, the First Amendment, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights does not outright say explicitly the words separation of church and state, that is exactly what it means. It's what the First Amendment, part of the First Amendment, that section means, okay? Along with Article 6. But yet they're trying to argue that these findings and these declarations that they're making means that the argument of separation of church and state can no longer be used, and that we're not going to tolerate that in America anymore and going forward. That nobody can use that against any religious policy or religious idea or like religious action. Like, trying to put the 10 Commandments in schools or something like that. Understand that a public place, okay, a public place even more so that is funded by government, state, federal money, by taxes, okay, that is the point. Those places cannot establish, cannot commercialize or advertise or like promote any religious doctrine, okay? And when you are arguing to place something like the 10 Commandments or something like that into these, into public spaces, that is exactly what you're doing. And that does indeed go against the First Amendment, okay? It's not supposed to happen. And if that's what they are calling religious persecution, because we're not allowing you to put, or we're arguing against you putting religious doctrine in public spaces, then you just don't get it. You're pushing your doctrine, you're pushing your religious beliefs on other individuals, and the idea is to have freedom from that. Okay, you can have your freedom to express how you want to in private spaces and even in public spaces on your own terms, okay, individually, but you can't force it in a public manner. That's the point. And to put an establishment, a public establishment, having that define, to put connection, relation, to a specific doctrine, does just that. So that again, your argument is wrong. You're just flat out wrong. And then you had Ben Carson up there trying to argue, these people need to recognize that, that the founding documents specific, was, faith in God. It's on your dollar bill, it's on the coin, in God we trust, it's in the Pledge of Allegiance, blah 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 blah. Those things are not original to the country, okay? In God we trust on the bills, on the coins and stuff, that was not original to the country. That was added later on, okay? This country was not founded on Christianity. This is not a Christian nation. This is not a Jewish nation. It's not a Muslim nation. It's not a Hindu nation or a Buddhist nation or a Zoroastrian nation or even any kind of specifics of that. Catholic, Protestant, whatever. It is none of that. It is a nation accepting and open to all religions or none thereof. And you having the freedom to practice that your personal individual religion or beliefs without discrimination. And that's fine. But understand, you can't force public, state, federal establishments that is paid with tax dollars. Understand, the church doesn't have to pay taxes. They are exempt from that. If you're going to start arguing that there is no separation of church and state, then the states have to start paying taxes. I mean, the churches have to start paying taxes. Do you want that? I bet you'll argue against that. That's when you'll want the separation. Oh, no, wait a minute. Churches are supposed to be exempt from taxes. God doesn't pay taxes. Taxes are paid to Him. So it's all when you want church and state to be separated. And when you want it to be together to get what you want. When it appeases you and benefits you. So yes, this whole presentation that they had yesterday was just absolutely ridiculous and not constitutional. The separation of church and state clause, or in the letter of Jefferson and his, that, being his metaphor for the First Amendment, as we've already stated, that was the exact reason. What happened yesterday in that presentation was the exact reason why the First Amendment exists. The exact reason why Jefferson stated that it was a wall. All you wall builders, you should accept. You should be happy with about that. That should connect with you in some sort of way. A wall to separate church and state, so that there was no discrimination in any kind of way. So, if you were arguing for no separation of church and state, that cannot be used as an actual argument, then you're literally being unconstitutional. You're literally going against our forefathers. You're going against the founding documents. So you're not, that doesn't make you more American. It doesn't make you a patriot. It quite frankly makes you a traitor to everybody in America. You are going against the whole foundation of this nation. Does it make you more moral? And it sure as fuck doesn't make you right. You are wrong. So, yeah, it was, I'm sitting there watching this go down and listening to the shit that's being said, and I'm like, y'all are just blatantly false. Y'all are lying. Which, you know, shouldn't be a surprise. Shouldn't be a surprise for this administration. Surprise for the MAGA cultists, whether they are part of the administration or in Congress or everyday Joe down the fucking road. They do not comprehend or understand actual facts. Reality. They live in a fantasy fucking world that is built around what they are okay with and what they're not okay with and what they're acceptable to and what they're not acceptable for. And it's their own bubble. And if you don't agree with it, then you are anti-American, you're a hater, you're a communist, or you're a anti-Semite, or you're a anti-Christian, or you're, you know, it's fucking, it's gotten, quite frankly, I hate to use this word, but it's gotten kind of retarded. It has, if we're being honest, okay, in the most like stupidest way. What these people are doing, what they're arguing for. So anyways, let me know what you think though. And they're coming after, they're trying to set it up to come after everybody, and they're using every tactic, okay? They're connecting everything together. Communism, anti-Semitism, to the left, to any opposition of MAGA and of Trump, to being anti-Christian, to being anti-American, anti-patriotic, to being evil. Okay, they are connecting all of that, putting it into one bubble and bag. That they are attacking, and they're going to do everything they can to take away your rights, your voice, your First Amendment, and deem you as invalid. That's correct. Deem you as evil. Deem you as un-American, and disqualify you from the public square, from the ability to vote, or, I mean, they're quite literally at this point trying to put all kinds of restrictions on the internet right now. There are bills trying to be pushed through that turns the internet into a full-on like surveillance thing, where they're requiring your ID and verification of age and what you can connect to. I mean, literally no freedom on the internet anymore. Taking away your freedoms over, like, and doing it in the name of protecting children. But yet, a lot of the policy, a lot of the arguments in there are towards adults. Trying to collect data and information on what you believe, what you're intaking, what your thoughts are, so that they can identify you as this type of person, what's your content that you're taking in, and so they can deem you They're trying to use every avenue possible to deem you anti-American, to deem you a terrorist. I'm going to do a video next week, probably Monday, on the convictions that happened in Texas, where they're deemed protesters as terrorists, and individuals received everywhere from 30 to 100-year sentences just for being protesters. While, you know, we know of all the Jan 6ers, not only did they get fucking pardoned, but they're trying to argue to give them payouts. They are using every avenue they can to label you as evil, anti-American terrorists, domestic terrorists, where they can then turn around and throw the book at you, put you in jail, or maybe even worse, just for opposing their opinions, opposing their ideology, opposing their policies that are quite literally detrimental to the whole fabric of this nation. And the religious freedom thing here is just another avenue. So pay attention, okay? Let me know what you think. And until next time, peace, clear talk, I'm out.